As we sit here today, the Denver Broncos have essentially benched Russell Wilson and will cut him as soon as the season ends. Now, yes, it's going to be a financial hit, but they're done with Russell Wilson. The Russell Wilson, Sean Payton experience, they're done with. The question is, how did we get here? Because, and I talk about this a lot when I talk about Justin Herbert, when I talk about Josh Allen. There's unrealistic expectations a lot of times on quarterbacks. And a lot of those unrealistic expectations, like I said before, are stemmed or rooted in the contracts that they receive. And Russell Wilson getting traded from Seattle to Denver and then ultimately getting, $260 million. You're expected to be a game changer. You're expected to be a franchise changer when you get the money that you get. And this is a culmination of 2 years, obviously. Last year, Russell Wilson was god-awful. Worst season for a superstar quarterback, worst season of his career, was awful. A lot of people can say that it was tied to Nathaniel Hackett. A lot of people can say, well, this is who Russell Wilson is. But again, most of the blame is going to go to the person that gets the most money, makes the most money, which obviously was Russell Wilson. And then you get to this year. Exits Nathaniel Hackett, inserts Sean Payton. We know the track record that Sean Payton has when we talk about his stint in New Orleans and with Drew Brees and how successful that was. And you're expecting a flip, a change. You're expecting things to be different. And it didn't start off. In fact, it started off that way, but not in the way that you think it would start. Last year, the Denver Broncos had one of the best defenses in all of football. This year, at least the start of the season, not only did they have one of, if not the worst defense in football, they had historically one of the worst defenses in football history. This is under Sean Payton. And again, we talk about that blame pie. The blame isn't going to go to that defense as much as it's going to go to the fact of Russell Wilson makes the money that he makes. So he should be more of a solution than he was. And then they go on a winning streak. And there's a good shot that they make the playoffs. Then they lose again, and of course, where does the eyes point to? Where does the blame go? It goes to Russell Wilson. There's been a graphic that has gone around about how Russell Wilson has fared this season. And his numbers are very comparable to Patrick Mahomes' numbers. In fact, in a lot of categories, Russell Wilson has been better than Patrick Mahomes. As of right now, and seeing as though Russell Wilson has been benched, doesn't look like these numbers are going to change. He has 3,070 yards on the season, which is tied for 18th, or which is 18th, I'm sorry. He has 26 touchdowns, which is tied for 6th. He has 8 interceptions, with is tied for 84th. I'm sorry. And he has a QBR of 50.6, which is 21st. Now, if you look at that, those aren't terrible numbers. You're benching someone that has over 3,000 yards, 26 touchdowns to single-digit interceptions. And when you compare that to someone like Patrick Mahomes, those numbers, at least this year, are comparable of a good quarterback. But the issue is we shouldn't be comparing that to Patrick Mahomes. We should be comparing that to a person that makes $260 million. And when you factor that in, or let me say this, that's what they're factoring in, at least the Denver Broncos, that doesn't cut it. So when we talk about accountability, this is where Russell Wilson deserves to take some of that accountability. He has not been playing the best. He's been playing much better than last year, I will give you that. Last year was abysmal. This year he's played much better, to the point where you were on a 5-game win streak before losing, I think, 2 or 3 straight. And essentially the nail in the coffin obviously was losing to the New England Patriots. I think it was on a Thursday Night Football, which essentially it didn't completely take you out the playoffs, but you went from like 42% to like 5. So it's essentially a long shot to make the playoffs. And Russell Wilson could have played better. I will say that. Again, when you make when you make the amount of money that Russell Wilson makes, you're expected to be more of a solution than he was. You're expected to be more of a blanket. That's, again, I talk about that a lot. Now, I'll be honest. The same argument that I give with Justin Herbert is the same argument that you can give with Russell Wilson. They didn't pay you to just be one of the guys. They paid you to lift this organization to new heights. And while Justin Herbert has the talent to do so, he has not been able to. Whether that's his fault or not, he just hasn't. Same thing with Russell Wilson. They paid you all that money, especially in the division and the conference that you're in, to be a franchise changer, and he has not done that. And again, I don't think it's all Russell Wilson's fault. Obviously, it's not all Russell Wilson's fault. And I honestly don't think that majority of it is Russell Wilson's fault. But I do understand the thinking of, bro, we paid you all this money and one thing that people don't talk about is that graphic that goes around comparing Russell Wilson to Patrick Mahomes. Well, it's widely understood that this is a down year for Patrick Mahomes. I understand that nobody's calling for Patrick Mahomes' job like they're calling for Russell Wilson's, but it's been a down year for Patrick Mahomes. So when you compare that, it's like neither one of those traits are comparable to someone that's making $260 million. So in that sense, that is where the accountability, the slice of accountability, goes to Russell Wilson. He could have played better. That's plain and simple. He could have played better, and the fact that he did not play to the standard of which someone that makes $260 million should play to, it makes situations like this easier to accept. The fact of, oh, you're getting benched now, and they don't want to pay you as much as they said they were going to pay you in this contract, so they're going to cut you and bite a historic loss. But I will say this. And this is something that doesn't get talked about a lot. And this is where I will applaud Russell Wilson. There was a lot of things that I guess you can say was expected going into this that was expected when Russell Wilson went to the Broncos. You hear names like Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, Javonte Williams, and you think, oh, okay, well, those are weapons. Those are great weapons that you could use. And then you know that the offensive line isn't the best, but the defense is still there. And that defense can supersede a lot of the offensive line struggles, seeing as though if Russell Wilson struggles, you can lean on the defense. Well, that's where the accountability now, the slice goes to the skilled positions. Because outside of Cortland Sutton, there has not been another reliable wide receiver. And honestly, outside of a couple games this year, even Cortland Sutton hasn't been the most reliable. The run game has been the run game, but that offensive line has been terrible for these last 2 seasons. And that defense that you can hang your hat on last year is nowhere close to the same, at least the beginning of the year this year. Again, man, there is a lot of blame to go around. And I'm here to do it. Now I have to talk about Sean Payton and the organization. I kind of sandwiched that into one. I understand that Sean Payton inherited Russell Wilson. He didn't choose Russell Wilson. Actually, let me back up, because that's not essentially true. The only thing Sean Payton didn't do is give Russell Wilson the contract. But Russell Wilson was there before Sean Payton got there, and Sean Payton knew Russell Wilson was going to be there when he became the coach. Now, I understand you saying, okay, we're going to give Russell Wilson a shot. You know, I came from Fox to coach this Denver Broncos team. I'm going to give Russell Wilson the best shot possible. I'm going to give Russell Wilson my best and see what happens. Well, as we sit here today, nobody can say, or it doesn't feel, let's say, because I don't know Sean Payton personally. It doesn't feel that Russell Wilson has gotten the fair end of the stick, not just from this organization, but from Sean Payton. A report came out saying that I think the game after they beat the Kansas City Chiefs, the organization came and said, we need you to pretty much defer on the injury guarantee that we put in your contract. And if you don't do that, we're going to bench you. Mind you, they went on a 5-game winning or 4 or 5-game winning streak after that with Russell Wilson, which means that the whole fear of being benched was there this entire time. And on top of that, we've seen the multiple times where Sean Payton has thrown Russell Wilson under the bus, or the public humiliating argument or whatever, or talk down to that Sean Payton did to Russell Wilson on live TV. It feels like, shouts out to Ryan Clark. He said that in more of a aggressive way, which I appreciate. You expect your players, you expect your quarterback, you expect the people that you pay to have a level of professionalism and have a level of class when representing your organization, representing themselves, representing the NFL. Well, that hope and expectation was not given, or has not been expected, and has not been shown by Sean Payton. You can say what you want about Russell Wilson. You can talk about his shortcomings. You can say that all of this is his fault. Cool. But can you honestly say that you feel that Sean Payton has been Russell Wilson's number one advocate? Can you honestly say that it feels like Sean Payton has done everything in his power to bring the best out of Russell Wilson? Now, obviously, Sean Payton didn't get hired just for Russell Wilson. He got hired to change the trajectory of the Denver Broncos. But from day one, coming at Russell Wilson about his personality off the field and on the field, or the whole kissing baby stuff, it feels like it's been a Sean Payton just going at Russell Wilson the entire season. And it hasn't even been a back and forth, because Russell Wilson has shown the level of professionalism, the level of class, the level of character that you expect a player to show. But Sean Payton has not demonstrated that on the level that you would expect a coach to show. You see, all this blame today I'm hearing is going to go to Russell Wilson. You paid Russell Wilson this much money. Russell Wilson has to be better, which is true. But what happens when the person that's making the calls, when he isn't up to snuff, when he isn't putting the person that you gave all that money to in the best position? We like to talk about today. When we talk about Golden State, right? And, Klay Thompson does the 4 rings, or Draymond Green does the 4 rings. How does that 4 rings help you today? Sean Payton was incredible in New Orleans. How does that help you today? Oh, man, you stayed to the end of the video. I appreciate you. If you like what you saw, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you'll never miss any content from your boy. You can also go back and watch past episodes, past clips, and don't forget that the Unpopular Podcast, new episodes drop every Wednesday and Saturday. Appreciate you.